Hello and welcome to About the Albums. This time we're talking about Neon Waves, which originally came out in November of 2013. And though this part was edited out, I did have to quick run back and look and make sure that's when it came out. Because I looked, and I hit record, and I was like, was that 2013? And then I had to run back and look. But I cut it out so no one knows, so it's all good. There's no way for anyone to know other than if, like, I told you or something. And this one was another experiment of how to make an album. And essentially, it was kind of like the Pool of Creation and question mark, or not question mark, Pool of Creation and What Have We Learned albums. Where essentially I recorded a bunch of stuff around the same time. And then I put out all the best stuff. I tried to take that and put that on, or at least the I liked the most and thought was the best. Put that on Neon Waves, and then the other stuff went on the album we'll talk about next. Spoilers, Titanium. But yeah, that's kind of just the way of the album. So that's what we have here, and this is another one where I think it has a lot of, kind of like some of the last album had. There's some weird relationship influenced songs, so get ready for some of that. That kind of works its way into some songs for a few albums anyways, I believe. So it's interesting. But from what I remember, this is good, so maybe as we go through these, I'll still think it's good. Also, I realize I record these at all different times and whatnot, so it just seems totally random when all my videos come out, just in general on the channel. Because, like, this one, he's got long hair, now he's got short hair, and sometimes he's got, like, a lot of facial hair. Other times it looks like he just shaved really poorly with an electric razor. His facial hair. Razor. I'm good at talking, and speaking, and words. And there's not a whole lot to really preface this with other than this overly long ramble, so let's just jump right into it with the title track of Neon Waves, which is Neon Waves.
Rising from the ground, rising from the graves, come into the light, come out from the caves, flying through the sky, see the time it saves, colors fill your eyes, look at the neon waves.
Neon Waves is the title track on Neon Waves. And it's the intro, it works to have the title track be the first one, and it's just kind of like a nice, like, very, like, simple, kind of like hopping, jumping kind of song to get you kind of pumped up for the album. It's a good album opener, I thought, because it's something I used to be a lot better at. I think I maybe got worse at it a bit over time, but I used to be kind of picky about trying to make sure I had, like, okay, I want the first song to be, like, good or whatever. Like, I want, like, to be kind of a flow. It's like, here's some, like, stuff with energy, and then stuff slows down and that kind of thing. And I would think about the order of the songs and the flow of the album a bit more. And I feel like I've gotten worse with that, but, well, we'll see. And the song itself wasn't really about much of anything. It's a vague idea of, like, the thing of, like, yeah, coming up, like, from, like, you've been locked away or whatever, kind of, like, not locked away, but, like, you're just, like, kind of, like, sheltered from everything in these caves, and you come out there and you see, like, there's, like, things aren't all dark, things are, like, bright, and you come out and you're kind of, like, freed from that, and you come up and you can, like, fly and, like, get around that way. So using, like, underground tunnels, I guess, is sort of an implication there. And then colors fill your eyes, look at the neon waves, I don't know, just having, like, really colorful, like, crazy colorful sky full of a bunch of, like, neon, like, waves of light, like Aurora Borealis on an acid trip. I don't know. It was just something that, like, sounded neat, and it was just a catchy little thing to go with this catchy kind of repetitive song. And while this doesn't have as much, you know, power behind it as maybe I would like to have on, like, something like the bass and, like, how it pushes through, I do think the solo thing, again, while the solo is also a little, like, lacking, I could have maybe done a bit more with it, but I like that I definitely had, like, the solo, like, riff thing with the sine wave in there, and that has a lot of command, and when it comes in, it's very loud, without being, like, obnoxiously loud, to me anyways. And this is one where my singing worked fine with it because I didn't try to stretch my voice to do something it couldn't do. So overall, Neon Waves, it's a neat little song. There, I said it. You happy? It's still part of it. Still part of the thing. Still, we're just part of the series now. Just my existence is a running gag. Button on the shirt, still there. Still there. So, what can you do?
One man, one chance, one set of circumstances, one soul for all, one hope for all the answers.
Another Hero is this song about there being a hero with a set of circumstances. Basically, like, this person is our only hope. The only one that can save all of us. But calling it Another Hero kind of indicates that someone has already tried to do this before, that they thought this was the thing for. Like, this isn't the first time this kind of pressure and kind of burden has been placed on someone, and this kind of thing has been thrust upon someone. And so this person is just another hero. It's someone they think this is the only person that can do it now. So that's why the song is also a little bit like, it's a little desperate because of the high stakes, but also seems a little bit like sad and cynical in some ways. And I don't know, I just liked the kind of like the wood block kind of sound like a ticking clock element in the percussion. I liked the general progression of like the chords, and just like a lot of the tones used I was really into. And I think this was probably around the time I was doing a lot of the stuff that I kept in MTV Music Generator, and that stuff that's like on Generation. A lot of that I think was made around this time, because I'm hearing a lot of similar riffs that either started with me playing them or started with me figuring them out there and translating one to the other. So you probably hear some of that in here too. And yeah, I don't know, I still really like this one. Having the multiple voices is nice here too. They work pretty well. And it's not, it's nothing amazing, I guess, but I think it's another one where, again, I'm also using the strengths of, like, my voice works pretty well. I'm not stretching it too crazily to do things it can't do. And it's definitely a zone of me feeling pretty comfortable with, the way I'm playing, the way I'm singing. Things feel pretty comfortable here in terms of me making music at this point, and I like that. It's a good feeling. So yeah, going through all these in a row like this to kind of look at all the songs again, it is kind of an interesting journey to see for me as well, because I didn't really think about that before. Hopefully that's interesting for you too. Interesting for you too. Again, great at speaking. I'm the best speaker. Anyone who thinks they can speak better than me is wrong, because I said so, and I said it perfectly, because I'm a perfect speaker.
See that Society.
Ciety is a song pretty much kind of making fun of like the stereotype of living in a society and the thing. It's like, yeah, you get a job, you go to work, you pay your taxes and stuff, and you have a family, do all the things you're supposed to do, because that's just the way society says. It's normal, it's usual, it's what you do, it's normal, that kind of thing. Coming from someone, at the time who hadn't done, jack shit with his life, probably means a whole lot, but, who still hasn't, really, but, actually, originally the song, I remember the concept originally was, I don't remember specifically, because it's been so long since I turned it into this, and this is much better. It was a song that was much more like along the lines of like having a fight with my girlfriend at the time, and then it was a very angry song, and I don't remember the like chorus or like the main push of it. I just remember it was really mean and it was bad, and I'm glad I never actually finished that and like put it out. Because this makes me feel less bad, and also, this one probably came out this one came out really, really, like, listening to this again, it came out so well. I don't remember it being this good. I think the only, like, real help I had with it was I did do the drums, but there was also just a drum track that was a preset on there too, so there were two things of drums going on, which is interesting, just to make it easier for me to get it done. And then yeah, there's a good amount of like bass and you know, force to like the sound of it. The sound is pretty good with like the different tones I used on it. I liked the nice distorted guitar and like the kind of like the synth, like buzzy synth bass going on. And then the like nice organ, the cool like electric organ or whatever the fuck, pipe electric organ I think it was, whatever the setting was. Some kind of organ. It sounded cool together, I thought. And then like the main like, you know, thing of playing it, like it has a good like push to it, and like the I think the lyrics came off, had the double voice thing going on, so it made it sound like kind of neat there. And then on the chorus stuff, I do like how I said so Ciety instead of like kind of like being like it's the thing of like that's so society. That's such a thing society would say or do. And I don't know. I like that. I thought the overlaps with the voices went well too. Again, my voice went really well with it. I didn't have a bunch of weird like this voice started in too soon or something, or it's off key or whatever. I think it did really good with that part, which is really surprising. And then like even the end part where like they kind of like bend down. When the chorus stopped in the last one, they both bend down at like the same time and like the same way. Like I was really in it. I did it well, really well for me, but well in general. And like the cool like solo bits and like those riffs, it was cool because you could tell like there's parts where I'm just dicking around at the end, but like the other parts you hear like the solo-y bit like before the final chorus. The reason that one is so like well done too, and it's like that long or whatever, it's because it's one that I've done like a lot, and I just never actually made it into like an actual song. So me making this whole thing into like an actual song now with that progression and that cool like riff thing and and plus there's also the cool little like the nana nana boo boo almost like organ riff playing in parts of it, like making fun of like this society thing. I don't know, like a lot of it just comes together. This really like this is a really like good song, like, considering, you know, it came out of me. This is really good. I'm surprised because I don't remember it being this good. So like, yeah, all of this is cool. I have a lot of fun listening to this. Let's hope the rest of the album it makes me feel as excited about it as it does, because I mean that's already more than I expected. And if it's like if you guys are like digging this and you're thinking this is cool, like if you guys are thinking that, that's a fucking miracle and a half. That is a miracle and a bag of chips. Let's go to the next one before I ruin it more.
So say hello, so say hello. I think you're someone I'd like to know. So say I do, so say I do. I think I'm falling in love with you.
Say It is one of those relationship-y songs I mentioned would probably show up. This one actually was one, and this is when basically we were fighting a lot, and it was like, maybe we shouldn't be together if we're just making each other this upset and like fighting all the time. And I don't want that, but maybe if that's for the best, I would like to do the thing that's for the best. And that, you know how it is with feelings and whatever. Back when I had those, like yeah, but it's yeah, it is mostly that. So it sounds pretty cheesy, I guess. I didn't mean for it to be, but I think I sell it pretty good. Like the build up, it's a long, slow build up of like adding instruments and me singing over that. Not the best singing, but passable, serviceable singing. It does the job of me singing there and not it sounding horrible, even if it is a bit whatever. But then it builds up and it's like, oh shit, like once it hits like, yeah, the chorus part, I feel like with the two voices doing that or whatever, I think that part's actually really powerful. I think I did that part really well. And then after that, yeah, like the solo-y bits are cool, and so like I think after that build, like the solo thing goes on a bit long, the beginning's a bit long, the whole thing could maybe be condensed a bit more, and it would be a little catchier, a little better. But it does sound like I don't know, it just sounds like kind of like an '80s relationship song. But that's not a good title. So I'm glad I didn't use that for the title of the song. And just, yeah, like the cool, like the way the drum things go, and like, I don't know, like the guitar in it, like the guitar tone is like kind of like loud, but like it works really well with that. And the The horn thing is a little like over the top cheesy at the end too, but I think it's earned by that point, so it's fine. It's like little piano pieces in there. I don't know. It's none of it's like amazing or great, but I think it's pretty good. I think it came together as a neat thing that I wanted. Like it's more or less sounds like the way I wanted it to sound when I was making it, and that's good when that happens, rather than being like I wanted it to sound like this and it didn't. I'd rather it be like it sounded way better than I thought, but this is good too.
I don't want to stick around anymore. I think I'd better go. The truth of the matter is, I'm just a tortured soul.
Tortured Soul is about just someone who just feels like they've suffered a lot and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. They just want the suffering to go away. And so you could read into it in a lot of ways. You could read into it as them wanting to leave their surroundings or something. You could read into it as a suicide thing. You could read into it as like just brainwashing, like that or something. I don't know. Hypnosis. There's a lot of ways you could take it. It's pretty vague. But I also have that weird line in the beginning of this where it's like, I mentioned like cryogenically frozen in time. So I kind of like to think that this wasn't really the idea for it, but like with that line there, you could read into it as like, oh, maybe the person was like hated their life so much, like but they were able to get themselves like cryogenically frozen in time. And the idea is that in the future they'd be far enough away from all those things that bothered them, but it wasn't enough, and they just don't want to be around anymore, because they're still suffering, they're still tortured. So yeah, it's a weird, like dark, like sad, defeated kind of song. I do like the way I sang it. I think it worked well with it. I didn't go crazy with it in any of the parts, and it was well within my range to do. And it made it still feel kind of like sad and creepy. And then like the cool like riffs going in and out around there. It flows really nicely. And like how do I say thoughts? There was like an echoey kind of thing on it. I believe that was an imposed one that I just put on there, and I just made I layered it and made it like with itself and created the echo that way. And like I feel like that slight echo, okay, almost like a delay more than an echo kind of thing. That I think that worked pretty well. And then the other thing was that near the end, I kind of like use the sustain pedal and like the changes where I'm just sustaining like the bass notes for a long time and like the stuff, and like the very ending of it's just like kind of like it builds a little too long of like just like those really like harsh notes just holding and sustaining for a really long time, and it's like really like bothersome, but it's kind of like supposed to sort of represent like the idea of it like just being like too much to handle, too much to bear. That's like kind of like the musical embodiment of like the torture that the soul has gone through. So it also, I just thought it would sound cool. But mostly you could read it. If you read into it the other way I said, it makes me sound like an artist and not just some dipshit with a keyboard. Or both. Or both.
Even when I'm crying sad, like a weeping willow. Even when I'm punching mad, I can count on my pillow.
Now, I'd love to tell you that My Pillow is just a goofy song about a pillow. And like, oh, I'm gonna, like, my pillow is my friend. I'm just going to sleep with my pillow now. And it'll be there for emotional support and for physical science. And you know, like, and mostly it's a goofy song about that kind of thing, right? Like, oh, it's funny, like, I'm just like, I'm not feeling good or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's a song where it's like, your pillow is always there. You can always count on your pillow to be there. It's not going to go running off on you. It's not going to leave you. It's going to be totally fine if you're nice to it. It's going to be fine if you're abusive to it. Whatever. Your pillow, because it's a fucking pillow, right? you have sex with it, it's not going to report you for having sex with it because it's a pillow. It's like you get away with a lot of things with a pillow that you can't do with the person. Some of these things are probably not healthy to be doing to another person either, or just in general to do. I think they're okay, mostly the abuse, and if you're doing something that's going to get you reported for it, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. But really, it's just more inspired by this thing of like, I remember like one night I felt like really lonely, and like I woke up. It was really bizarre, but like remember waking up, and I just felt like super like alone, and like I remember like I just like hugged like my pillow really tight, like that like kind of helped, and so that was like what kind of sparked the idea. And then I kind of started thinking about things like, a pillow's always there, you're always sleeping with it, it's always in bed with you, it's not judging you for these things, it's not making you feel bad or whatever. It's like it's a reliable companion. So that's where the song kind of came in. Like my idea was sparked from something much darker, and then it was, and it kind of went into this weird, goofy territory. And I like it sounds like kind of like a happier kind of song, and like that's kind of like a positive like spin to it. It's got kind of an interesting like quirky kind of like beat. Things like the bass and some of the instruments are kind of strange. It's interesting for sure. And I sang it okay, and it you can tell I'm just like ad-libbing weird shit at the end, and that's a fun time. I also really like that. I wish I had a little more conviction in it, but it was like right near the end, I didn't want it to like punctuate it too hard, but I feel like I made it a little obvious when I did it a little too like, I tried to do it a little too softly, so it wasn't so punctuated. I overcompensated for like being like, I'm gonna really hit this line. So it's like I really like, tried to. It sounded like I tried to hide the line, like I was uncomfortable saying it, which wasn't the case. I was like having sex with my pillow, like you can tell I say it a little too quiet, so it was like weird. But like other than that, like it's pretty good. I don't know. I think it's a fun little song to have on here, and like I don't know, it's the way it like kind of like goes, and the fun like beats and rhythm and like the tones and everything. It's definitely something that I don't do every day. So yeah, please don't spread around any rumors that I'm consistently having sex with pillows, because I don't need to. I'll get canceled. So if they hear I'm having sex with pillows, the YouTube will be like, can't have that on our platform. That we don't. How do you end a joke that sucks? I think if I just get really loud and clip the microphone, that should work, right? That always sounds funny, doesn't it? Let me try it. Shit!
Sail into the night. Sail into the night.
Sail into the Night is another one of those relationship-y songs. Kind of thought things were not going well, and so it was like, oh, I think I was upset, and it was like, well, goodbye. That kind of feeling. I don't know. Again, there was a lot of on and off things. I wasn't great at handling stuff. She wasn't great at handling stuff. We were new to it. Happens, man. The song itself starts off promising enough. They kind of like slowly build like the instruments and stuff. Like, this sounds cool. And the singing is kind of like, eh. And then when I have the overlap of voices, it's like too loud. It sounds really bad. It's like, eh. And then the solo-y stuff is okay, but overall, this one, I think, in retrospect, it doesn't sound as good as I thought it did. Some of it's because of the sound quality. Some of it's because of just like the song doesn't do anything or go anywhere. It just kind of repeats that same thing a lot. And especially with the singing over it, the singing didn't do enough in it. So it felt like by the time we got to me singing over all the instruments, it already felt too repetitive with how like basic the singing was too, and not that great. And so yeah, it kind of falls apart on that front. It falls flat. It sinks, if you will. It sinks into the day. That's Sail Into the Night. It's I would rate it out of 10. I would give it an
I am not. No, I am not. This is not what I am.
The denial of man is kind of about this idea of like that we're essentially fighting things that are like instinctive and like kind of like natural things that we would like normally we wouldn't think twice about a lot of these things because it's like society that we've built and we're thinking about things. And so it's essentially the idea that we're constantly fighting these things. Like we're not like these, like we're not like violent or doing things that are like for only our own gain and not for helping other people and that kind of thing. Because like the reason we're like that is because we kind of built a society. We kind of decided to deny those basic like instincts and like to try to do something that is more important, something that works better for everyone. So it's kind of funny that's on the same album as the one where I'm kind of shitting on Society before, right? But and this idea of like we're constantly like, no, like we're not like that, we won't do those things. But it's like we're just like essentially we would still do those things if these things weren't in these systems. In civilization, if these things weren't in place, we would just be, we would be not much different than a lot of other animals. So it's kind of about that. The singing is a bit out of my range, you can hear, for sure. Also, you can hear the parts where it's like, we are not like the... Like, I'm trying to do the wavery thing on this, but I'm just kind of like, like it's not a real waver. It's a very faux waver. So that is bad, but it's different, so I guess there's that. I do think that it has a good like wall of sound with like the bass and the piano in there, and it's like, and then the trumpets going on there. Like the trumpets are kind of loud. They're very present, but like that's okay too. Again, it's kind of an interesting mix of things. And then I really like the tone for like the solo was really, it's kind of out of place also. So things kind of, a lot of the tones in here like stick out from one another. But I think I kind of liked about that tone is that it reminds me for some reason a lot of like a tone you might hear from Maniac Mansion on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It sounds like a tone they might use for music in there. For some reason, it always made me think of that. I don't even remember how he make that tone specifically. And then I kind of like how it ends, where it's just like, the way like the kind of solo thing kind of just goes into a thing, just kind of and just like stops, and it's like I don't know, it's a song that's like at least very like it's interesting, and it kind of keeps me being like like there's the words are talking about something, and like the music's doing some kind of neat stuff, and so it's got enough interesting things to get you through the song without it feeling super repetitive or really punctuating how like it's not necessarily the greatest. After you've heard it maybe once or twice, you'll start to really notice that more, but it's at least interesting, if nothing else, unless you don't find it interesting, and then it is nothing else.
How can you see with your young eyes? How can you see past all the lies? Now ask yourself, how would you feel if you found out it wasn't real?
Illusions of Youth is about this idea of, what if, it's kind of like aimed at, like kids, and it's like, what if these things you thought were real, like Santa, like the Tooth Fairy, like unicorns, leprechauns, the Easter Bunny, what if these things weren't real? What if you were being lied to? What if you're being lied to, man? Wake up, sheeple. And just like funny to take that concept really seriously. And it's another one where I think it has like neat, like, it's a neat little like kind of like has an interesting like beat to it. I like the tones. I picked interesting tones for it. Aren't all the usual tones I would pick all the time. I like that the guitar solo comes in. That thing comes in like kind of like too loud, but it's not like crazy. So it's like it's definitely has a lot of presence. I like that. The double voice thing, and then like on the chorus parts, I like that. I have the low voice and the high voice are just like they're different, like the same, like the different octaves. But because it's the same notes, I don't have to worry about like harmonizing because I'm pretty bad at that. Yet it still has an interesting sound, and I hit the notes on them, so I like that. I seem to like when I do that kind of thing with my voice, the double up and then the different octaves, but singing the same notes in different octaves. I like that. I don't know. And then the cool like ending thing where it turns like the drum hits. It's another one where it's like it comes off pretty well. So far I'm feeling pretty confident that this album is actually pretty good in terms of how I generally make music. And we'll see how it continues to go. But so far it's been pretty solid, I guess. But, you know, I could be lying too. I'm a little old for the youth part. And my videos are marked as not for kids, so you're probably a little old for the youth part. But other than that, maybe every once in a while I think if I let it go for a little bit, I will eventually think of something to make the joke good. And then I don't. So as a consolation prize, here's a unrelated coaster that looks like the NES cartridge for Super Mario Bros. I only had the one with that and Duck Hunt, and later one with this Duck Hunt and World Class Track Meet.
What happens when you lose yourself? When you close your eyes? What happens when you lose yourself? What happens when you die?
When you lose, it's just kind of about dying, whether it's you or your loved ones. Just people dying, bad luck, or maybe it just happens. It's when you lose. You play the game of life and eventually you lose. In that sense. And that's, more or less what this is about. And I just kind of like that, like the main riffs and stuff, like has a nice like flow to like the riffs and the cool, like the bass is pretty good in it. And then I like the solo, the instrument for that, like wavery, whatever the fuck instrument that is. I really like that. I feel like I've used that too much, but I like that. And I like that the solo thing there is like obviously like a bit thought out, and I like that. And then near the end, like solos again, I like that I add the like at the end part where it's just like jam and have those other little pieces kind of come in to add extra like layer of like interest to it, and then just like kind of jam it out with that. Overall, the song like it flows. It's good for like a nice little jam at the end, and it's sung okay. I maybe could have done a bit better on the singing, but it was definitely well within my range to do. So that was cool. Maybe I could use some overlapping of vocals or something, but yeah, generally I like this one. So I'll take the win with When You Lose.
Edit the files and I've gotta upload 1,000. I've gotta record, edit the files and I've gotta upload 1,000.
1,000 is a song that was celebrating this whole thing of when I first was gonna reach 1,000 videos. And I don't remember actually if I made this song and put it out directly for like the 1,000th video I made, or if I actually tried to make that specific video the 1,000th video, right? I don't remember. I just don't. Sounds like an important milestone. I should remember that, but I don't. And then I went way over, and then I axed a bunch of shit and went under 1,000 again, and then I was like, I'm not going to do it again. I already celebrated this. So that number of videos always fluctuates. But, yeah, I think I'm still over 1,000 videos at this point, too. So I have a lot of videos, which is why my channel is so intimidating when people look at it and they're like, let's check out some of this guy's stuff. That's how many videos he has? Well, fuck that. But, there's all kinds of stuff around on the channel. So you can, only some of it you'll like. Like, there's, for every 1,000 videos, you'll like about 10 of them. The song is okay. It's just kind of about, like, recording different stuff I was recording at the time and trying to make stuff rhyme with that. Layering some vocals, which went off over okay. The music itself is kind of whatever. It's pretty basic, simple, like, riff repeating kind of thing. And then, like, yeah, the ending is, like, okay, too. But I was trying to, like, you can definitely tell I wanted to do something cool with my voice in that part and make it, like, high energy and exciting. But I didn't have the voice for it or like the right motivation for that, and so a lot of it's very weak and lame. But overall, the song is okay, and mostly it's just memorable for remembering that. Oh yeah, when I first got to 1,000 videos, that was pretty big deal for me. First when I got 100 subscribers, that was big. When I got to 1,000 videos, that was big. And now I'm kind of shit. Well, I've always been shit, but I'm kind of I'm just kind of waiting for other big milestones that I don't know when they're gonna happen. Like 500 subs, that would be cool. As far as video count, I don't know if I care anymore. It's just how much I do. And maybe view count, total view count, maybe if that reaches like 1,000,000 or something. I don't think I'm anywhere near that. That would be cool. Just I like little like milestone things like that. I don't know if anything else is gonna warrant a song, but like the 10 years on YouTube, that was another milestone I liked. I don't know. There's stuff happens, and you gotta enjoy it. Like I know I'm not a big YouTuber, I'm not a huge star of any kind, but like some of these things are cool. Like I never thought I'd get 100 subscribers. I never thought I'd be doing YouTube for like 1,000 videos. I didn't think I'd be doing like 500 episodes of What's the Deal with Sam. I didn't think I would be doing YouTube videos for like 10 years. So, like, it's cool to, like, kind of, like, look at those milestones and celebrate them a little bit and be like, hey, that's neat. That's cool. And I like that. And hopefully you liked 1,000. I'm an excellent salesman. Didn't you hear that salesman voice? God damn, like, I said you'll hopefully like the song, but in your head, you were kind of like, shit, I kind of want to buy a car now. You just didn't tell me which car to buy. Holes Overhead is another one of those relationshipy songs I was mentioning before. Basically, it was another one of these where essentially if we were fighting a lot and it was like, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't think you do either. I'm sick of you like putting up like this act like, oh, you're like so like upset with me for some of these things when I don't think you really are that upset. And so it's like this idea. It's kind of like I do like how it came off like lyrically and like kind of the way I sang it too. The audio quality is rough. The audio quality is pretty rough. That's like one of the worst things. Like if this had better like quality on like when I recorded it and when like I put it together, this would actually be pretty good. But it just does sound a little rough. And I can't really clean it up that much. I'd have to basically re-record it. And I don't know if I could. I have to figure out all the parts and stuff again. And so maybe, but I don't know. But it's if it was done well, it would actually be pretty good. The only thing it really lacks, I think, in the song itself is that it lacks a bit of it lacks a cool like solo, especially near like the build up in the end. I think there could have been a cool like solo-y thing before it like finished, but it doesn't necessarily need that, I suppose. And I don't know, it's kind of like a cool like a poetic thing of like, yeah, like there's holes overhead, this idea that like people are like getting stuck in this trap and they're falling down into these holes, and it's like you're walking like around, you can see like the glints of their eyes with the sun that's still like barely like hitting their eyes from like the bottom of those holes. It's like I'm not gonna fall into that. I'm not gonna like be stuck down here. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna walk around these. I'm gonna get out of this place. I'm not gonna be in this like it's like I'm not gonna let it happen. And that's why it's like, yeah, take me back or drop the act. And it's like, and I kind of just like, I'm kind of going towards this idea of like, I don't need any of this. I won't like love anyone anymore. That kind of thing, which is kind of a harsh, take on that. But it does have some kind of poetic, like cool, like imagery in my head when I'm thinking about this. And so I think it came out pretty well in the lyrics to me, but you let me know if it worked at all for you. And if you thought the song was okay. Because I did, other than those other things I mentioned that I didn't like. That Holes Overhead. Which I also think I think it works kind of interestingly well with the it's in the ballpark of head over heels kind of thing. Holes overhead. You're too young.
We were all eaten by the fishes. We were all eaten by the fishes. We were all eaten by the fishes. We were all eaten by the fishes.
Eaten by the Fishes is the final song on the album, and I really like it because it's just like a really simple, catchy song. It's not even that long. Just like, I don't know, something about like the progression of it is like catchy, and it's like such a weird idea of like, yeah, just like we're like slowly dying and we're just going to like the shores and like dying there so the fish can all eat us up. We turn into like flakes on the pond. It's like, oh yeah, we're just turning into like things that fish would eat. There's something like kind of like creepy about that, and that's why it's cool. The song is almost like weirdly like it's like kind of like almost like happy and like fun, but because it's like the little like dissonance going on with like the chords, the discord, whatever, the notes don't all agree really well, and so it just has that kind of like sort of creepy like vibe to it, and I really like that. It just worked really well. And I don't know, I think I like it a lot more than anyone else does. Usually I show this to people and they're like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, but this is cool. It's really cool, and that sucks. But I still like it. I thought it was an interesting way to like end the album on that note, that tone. Interesting. And that's the whole album, Neon Waves. And honestly, I think it did a pretty good job of picking the stuff so far. I guess we'll see more once we get to Titanium and look at the things I didn't pick. But yeah, I think like Sail Into the Night is probably like the one where I feel like, that maybe wasn't as great as I thought it was before. I kind of feel like I used to not like Illusions of Youth that much, but I've turned around on that a lot. Denial of Man, I used to really not like, and now I only sort of don't like it. But I do think the flow of the album could have maybe been better without having all those crammed next to each other. But overall, yeah, the album I think is still a solid one. And it just definitely was a time when I was making stuff and I knew how to make stuff, and I was working with some of my strengths in the tones I'm picking and like making those interesting, in the ways I'm trying to create songs and the lyrics I'm trying to do, and like the way I'm singing. I think a lot of it, I was very conscious of a lot of things, and I had enough experience with those things to make stuff that I would be able to listen to later and I'd just be like, man, what did I do? But what did you guys think of Neon Waves? And if you have any other questions or anything, like definitely leave that in the comments. I'll try to answer stuff. I know nobody does it, but you can. And it's always nice that people, show up to this. I've noticed these aren't getting 0 views, so that's cool. Some of them are even getting likes, so that's cool. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who's, hearing these things. And also not the only one that's vaguely interested in them. Some other people are vaguely interested too. That's always good. I talk too fast. Sometimes. I don't enunciate well enough to talk this fast. Thoughts come in and I'm like, I gotta get that thought out, and then I'm also trying to think ahead. It's a whole thing. The whole thing I said about being the best speaker, a perfect speaker, it was a lie for comedic effect. Because I fucking suck. And I'll see you guys next time on About the Albums. So the artwork here on the remaster of Neon Waves was actually one of the more time intensive ones here, because originally I put it in the Windows 7 version of Paint, and I really liked the light blue, the kind of more neon green, and like the orange bright colors. I use this like brush tool, like the oil brush or whatever it is, to make them on a black background, so they had a cool swipey effect. I've tried to kind of keep that, but also I wanted to make it look more defined and updated, and I actually ended up like picking a color in there and like tracing over the outlines of all of the waves, and then I tried to do some of that here, but I tried to make like a dark outline on because it was really hard to read my name and the album title, and so I tried to make outlines to those, but still keeping the insides for like the cool swooshy effect of like the brushes, the brushstroke effect. So it's more legible now, but it's a lot squigglier and it's kind of ugly. I don't quite like it as much visually for like the brushstroke thing. But I do like that I like that it's, how do I put this? I like that it's it's easier to read. You can look at it and be like, oh, that's what it says. So I like that aspect about it. And boy, that's all I really had to say. So that's like, that one was almost interesting. At least I had something to say about that one. Like, most of the time, not so much.